Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your association. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Danpat Sudevi Kopi.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there is a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Mataji is there?
Yeah, she is there, but we have 2 minutes, Mataji. We can see if somebody wanted to introduce.
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead and introduce yourself if you would like to.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. This is Chinmayi Vrajapriya Devidasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Chinmay Brajapriya Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for your association, Mataji. Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna. You want to start the recording, Mataji? Hare Krishna. Welcome you once again. On behalf of Bhakti Sangha, we would like to welcome Preethi Vilasini Mataji. Mataji, please take over. We are so fortunate to have you. Please enlighten us, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Mataji, Anuradha Mataji, would you like to read today's quote, Mataji, please?
Okay. Yes, today's course, 13th June. I can see you, you can see me. Similarly, you can go directly, see God and live with Him, dance with Him, play with Him, eat with Him. That is the perfection of life. Paris, June 13, 1974. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mataji. So happy to see you after a long break. As effulgent as ever. So nice to see you. Thank you all so much for the very wonderful opportunity to glorify Sri Caitanya Bhagavata. I hope I'm audible and there are no audio issues in this device. I'll start the screen share and then
fan or AC sound, but that's you're still audible, Mataji.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's the fan.
Yeah, that's fine, Mataji. It's hot, so.
Okay, so let's get started with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschayate Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we are reading Sri Caitanya Bhagavata and we are in the 8th chapter of the Adi Khanda, and in the 8th chapter we are seeing the passing away of Sri Vishwarup, who is the father of passing away of Jagannath Mishra, who is the father of Vishwarup and Vishwambhar. Before we get started with the exact verses, I'll chant the prayers of glorifying Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then we can proceed. Ajanulambita bhujau kanakavadhatau sankirtanaikapitaro kamalayadakshau Vishwambharau dvijavarau yugadharmapalau Vande jagatpriyakarau karunavatarau Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandro Jayati Jayati Kirti Tasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhritya Tasya Vishveshwamurte Jayati Jayati Nityam Tasya Sarva Priyanam. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. We are reading from Sri Caitanya Bhagavat. This is going to be verse 186 onwards. Khande upavita brahma teja murti manta hasyamaya shrimukha prasanna divyadanta. Skande Upavita. So we did see the Upavita ceremony of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So any kids on the call? I think there are some kids, maybe from the Govinda class. Mhm. Okay, very nice. So anyone, what is Skande? Skande, parts of the body. Anyone remember? Or maybe you're in Damodar, right? You might not know the Sanskrit class. Okay. So Skande, anyone wants to take a guess of what it is? Okay, so skanda is the shoulders. Okay, so skande upavita. So Lord Nimai, little Nimai, was wearing upavita, which is the sacred thread that was hung around his shoulders. Skande upavita, Brahma Teja Murti. He had this effulgence, the Brahman effulgence. Why? Because he's the very personification of the Brahman effulgence. Hasya Maya Shri Mukha Prasanna. He was so beautiful to behold. Prasanna Mukha. So very, very, the minute you see him, you would feel very happy, delightful just seeing him. And he had beautiful set of teeth, Divyadanta. So Danta is the teeth, and his teeth was looking very, very beautiful, like moons, like if you powder a moon and you just stick it in your mouth, that's how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teeth looked like. With the Brahmana thread hanging on his shoulder, he appeared to be the personification of Brahman effulgence. His beautiful smiling face was most pleasing and his teeth were divine. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as he was a kid, Nimai, when he was smiling, he was looking extremely beautiful. की बासे अद्भुत दुई कमल नयना की बासे अद्भुत शोभे त्रिकच्छ वसना. What is Kamala Nayana? Anybody?
Lotus eyed.
Yeah, lotus eye is very beautiful. So Kamala is the lotus and Nayana is the eye. So Kiba say Adbhuta. Adbhuta means wonderful, okay? So incomparable, wonderful. So wonderful were his two lotus eyes. Dui is two. So Dui Kamala Nayana. Kiba say Adbhuta Shobhe Trikachavasana. So Kacha is a style of tying the dhoti. So once a person is Brahmin initiated, once he gets the sacred thread, the kacha, that is the way they tie the dhoti, changes. Okay, so how does it change? How does it look like? The word trikacha refers to a style in which the elder Bengalis wear their dhotis. When the left end of the dhoti is taken between the legs and tucked in the back, it is called as kach. When the other end is stuck to the navel, it's called concha. And when the other end of the concha is also tucked to the navel, it is called as trikacha. So he was wearing the trikacha style, and many of you must be knowing from the men at home that they wear trikacha when they wear their dhoti, and you know how they wear their dhoti. So that's how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not only was his face looking very resplendent and beautiful, his eyes, his teeth, his smile, everything was looking very, very beautiful with his upavita that was hanging down his shoulders, but also the way he tied his dhoti and his overall appearance, his dressing, everything was adbhuta. It was beyond any compare. ये देखे से एक दृश्य रूप छाया लेना नहीं धन्य धन्य बलि या. So everyone who saw him, whoever saw him, could not remove their gaze from this form. No one could refrain from complimenting his extraordinary beauty. Just like when you say, ekadrishti means without any diversion, constant focus. Okay, ekadrishya, just seeing one thing. So when you see the Supreme Lord, this is what happens. When you see the beauty of the Supreme Lord, when you take darshan of the deities, or when you see the paintings of Krishna, it is so attractive. Krishna itself means attractive, right? So you will just keep looking at the painting without any diversion, without blinking, without closing your eyes. That's how attractive Krishna and Nimai is. So any of these paintings or any of the deity forms, when you take darshan, you just cannot stop looking, right? It's not like the things of this world. It is definitely transcendental, and without diversion or without blinking, when you constantly see, it's called as ekadrishti. So this is very interesting. Okay, when Krishna was present also in this world, not only when Nimai was present, of course when Nimai was present, he was extraordinarily beautiful. And similarly, when Krishna was present also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we read in the 10th canto in the 31st chapter, 15th verse, this is. So the gopis, they lament, "My dear Krishna, during the daytime when you go out to the forest of Vrindavan with your cows, we consider one moment to be 12 years, and it is very difficult for us to pass the time. And again, when you come back at the end of the day, by seeing your beautiful face, we are so much attracted that we are unable to stop looking upon you constantly." So this is the lamentation of the gopis. The gopis, every second, they just want to see Krishna. And when Krishna is away in the forest during the daytime, the gopis are very, very sad because they lose the sight of Krishna. And when he comes back, they're constantly waiting. They all go to their doorstep. In fact, some of them run into the forests when they hear the bugles and the conch shells and the flute sound of Krishna and his friends. They all run out because they are so eager to get darshan of the Lord again. And when they catch the glimpse of Krishna, they cannot remove their focus. They're constantly looking at him. So this is what the gopis are telling. And then they say, at times, when there is occasional blinking of our eyelids, we condemn the Creator, Lord Brahma, as a dunce because he does not know how to make perfect eyes. So they curse Brahma. They curse Brahma, saying that, "Oh Brahma, you don't know how to create properly. You've created these eyelids, and these eyelids, they block the vision. I cannot see you constantly. They block the vision. How much time? Momentarily, just split second, right? Nimesha is a split second. If you read Srimad Bhagavatam, calculation of time, I think that's where you talk. These time scales are divided. So Nimesha is nothing but it's a very small fraction of a second, and even for one fraction of a second, this eyelid closes, right? So when you blink. In fact, you don't even know when you're blinking. It is involuntary. But the gopis, even that involuntary act, because that blink for a split second, it closes one's eyes and blocks one's vision of Krishna. They are cursing Brahma. What sort of creation have you done? I cannot see Krishna constantly. So this is the perfection of our eyes, to see Krishna constantly. And the gopis had perfected it, obviously. They were not only seeing Krishna externally, they were also seeing Krishna internally, and they were seeing Krishna constantly. Still, their absorption in the beauty of the Lord was so much that they even cursed the Creator. So in other words, the gopis were disturbed by the blinking of their eyes because for the moment their eyes were closed and they could not see Krishna. That means that the gopis' love for Krishna was so great and ecstatic that they were disturbed even by momentary absence. And when they saw Krishna, they were so disturbed. This is a paradox. So Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book, he describes the feelings of the gopis. So he says that the gopis, they constantly want to see Krishna, and even the blinking of the eyes is a problem because momentarily it blocks the vision. But when they saw Krishna, even that was also very disturbing to the gopis, because the gopis were in so much, they loved Krishna so much that when they were seeing Krishna, they would constantly feel, is Krishna going to leave me and go now? So they were constantly disturbed even when they were seeing Krishna. So that is the power of the love of Krishna. Even the cowherd boys, not only the gopis, even the cowherd boys, it is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when the boys and Krishna would go to the forest for herding the cows, at that time, from time to time, Krishna would just run behind bushes or trees. So at that time, the cowherd boys would run into so much anxiety, like as if their life is ending, even for that split second, if they couldn't catch sight of Krishna. So this is how everyone in Vrindavan is. The same thing applies to everyone who was in Navadvip. So when they saw the beauty of this Lord, they just continuously kept looking at the beauty of the Lord. They were drinking the beauty of the Lord with the cups of their eyes. So that's how they were, and that's the beauty. That's how the Lord is also, because once you see His beauty, you cannot stop looking at His beauty. So let's go on to the next verse. हेन से अद्भुत वाक्य करे न ठाकुरा शुनिया गुरुरहाय संतोष प्रचुरा. While studying, Sri Nimai gave such nice explanations that his teacher was greatly satisfied with him. So obviously he was a very good student. He was no Brahm, he had a sacred thread ceremony done. He went to the Gurukula, he started learning, and he was a very focused child. I mean, it was not that he just went to school, and had some fun and came back. No, though he's the Lord of everything, he's the Lord of learning, he's the Lord of everything that exists, and he knows everything. Still, when he went to the Gurukula, he played the role of a serious student. He really sat down and learned everything that his teacher was teaching him. And as he learned, as he absorbed the content, he also gave very beautiful explanations for what he has understood. So if we have really understood nicely, we'll be able to repeat it nicely, right? So that is what Nimai was doing. So he gave very nice explanations that his teacher was so greatly satisfied with him. So his teacher was also very happy with him. Sakala paduya madhye apanadhariya vasayena guru sarva pradhana kariya. Indeed, the teacher recognized Nimai as the foremost of all his students. So the same thing Krishna, when he went to the ashram of his guru. Who's his guru? Who's Krishna's guru?
Sandipani Muni.
Correct. So how many days did Krishna go to school, Sudevi? How many days did he take to learn all the arts? I mean, he went to school, okay, but how many days did he master all the arts?
Mataji.
Oh, yeah, that is correct. Yes. But when he went there, though he is the Lord of everything, though he is the Lord of all the arts, still he practiced very seriously, right? He learnt everything under his Guru very seriously. So similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very, very serious, and his teacher recognized him as the foremost of all students, just like how Krishna was recognized as the master of all the 64 arts by his own Guru. गुरु बोले बापा तुम्ही मन दिव्य पड़ा भट्टाचार्य होइबा तुम्ही बलिना दाधा. The teacher said, "Your child, you must study attentively. Then you will soon be known as Bhattacharya." So Bhattacharya is a title of whom? Bhattacharya is a title of whom? Who is very learned. Okay, so if you are an expert in something, you're called as a Bhatta. You're very learned, and you've understood that art, that subject. Sorry. So the commentary says a Brahmana is eligible for the title of Bhattacharya if he has thoroughly studied and become an expert in logic and Mimamsa. So what is Mimamsa? So specifically here, Mimamsa means the Purva Mimamsa. Okay, so the Vedic canon, it is divided into Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa has all the Karmakanda activities. Uttara Mimamsa is the Vedanta. That is called as Uttara Mimamsa or Vedanta, where the philosophy of the Supreme Lord is understood. So, who's a Bhattacharya? If he is expert in Nyaya, if he is expert in logic, if he has understood Mimamsa, which is a particular branch of philosophy, and if he's completely memorized the 4 Vedas, and if he's a learner teacher who's expert in philosophy, such a person becomes a Bhattacharya. So you must have heard of several titles. I'll tell you some of the titles. Today, all of these titles are actually surnames. Okay, it has nothing to do with their education, but they just retain the surnames. Prabhupada often criticizes this. He says, oh, we hear so many people, being Bhattacharya, Trivedi, Dvivedi, Chaturvedi, Goswami, all of these today are just surnames, but actually traditionally they were not meant to be surnames. Just like if you have studied like for example you've studied engineering, then you get a degree, BE, right? Bachelor in engineering. Or if you have studied in India, if you have studied for physicals, you have studied to become a doctor, you get MBBS, right? So like that, it's a title that you earn because of your education. Okay, it's not a surname. But today everyone has surname, right? Dvivedi. Dvivedi means he's learned 2 Vedas. Trivedi means he has learned the 3 Vedas, at least 3 Vedas. And Chaturvedi means one who's learned in the 4 Vedas. Have any of them learned all the 4 Vedas? No. But then they just retain the title of their ancestors. Similarly, Prabhupada criticizes about the title of Goswami. Goswami has also become a surname today. But who's a Goswami? One who has controlled his senses is a Goswami, right? So we say Sanatan Goswami, we say Rupa Goswami. They are really Goswamis. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, yes, he's a Goswami. Not everyone is a Goswami. So similarly, Bhattacharya is also not a last name. It is not a surname. Rather, if you have studied and become an expert in the 6 systems of philosophy. Anyone knows the 6 systems of philosophy? Anyone wants to take a guess? One is Nyaya. How about the rest? Mimamsa is one. Nyaya. Anything else you remember?
Vaisheshika, what is it called, Mataji?
Vaisheshika, correct. Very nice. Very, very nice. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa. So Vedanta, that is also one. Yoga, that is also one. So like that, there are 6 systems of philosophy. Okay. Of which Vedanta is what we are interested in, but a scholar in Vedic literature, he would study all the different 6 systems of philosophy, and he would memorize the 4 Vedas, and he would become an expert, especially in defeating other philosophies. So that is also the job of a scholar. It's not that the scholar just becomes learned in everything. He should know the pitfalls of the philosophies that are not to be propagated. So like for example, great scholars, they would even study Buddhism and Jainism. It is very important for them. Why are they studying that? Not to become experts in that, but to defeat those philosophies. So like that, in ancient times, a person who goes to Kashi or any other great learning center, they would learn all the different philosophies. Then they would be called a Bhattacharya. प्रभु बोले तुमी आशीर्वाद कर यारे भट्टाचार्य पड़ कौन दुर्लभ तहारे. The Lord replied, it is not difficult for anyone. You bless them to become a Bhattacharya. So what is the Lord telling? Nimai told his teacher that if you bless me, my dear Guru, definitely I will become a Bhattacharya. So Nimai is taking a very humble stand, and he knows that it is, he just says that it is not because of my effort that I will become a Bhattacharya. Just because I study very sincerely and I learn everything sincerely. But ultimately it is only possible if you bless me. By your blessings, by your goodwill, that is the only way I can become a Bhattacharya. So that's again the importance of a guru is highlighted here. So without the guru's ashirvad, so it says tumi ashirvada kare. If you give me ashirvad, then I will become a Bhattacharya. If you bless me, then it is possible. So this is how Nimai speaks, which is true. We all need the blessings of our acharyas. Yahare ye jignasena Shri Gaura Sundara Hena nahi padu ya yedi beka uttara. Now comes the little mischief that Gaurasundar was doing. Whenever Sri Gaurasundar asked a question, none of his students were able to answer, obviously. So sometimes the student becomes so intelligent that he asks some interesting questions that the teacher becomes bewildered. We see this very much in our Bhakti Sangha Kids Academy. All the children, they are so smart. They ask such questions that the teachers sometimes have no answers. And then the teachers are texting each other trying to find the answer. Do you know the answer for this? And then we are trying to sit and research, and then we tell the kids we'll come back with the answers. Has this happened several times? I have seen it happen many times in Bhakti Sangha. Even the adults, when they ask questions, it is easy to answer, but not the kids, right? Sometimes the kids are far more intelligent and they ask such challenging questions that puts you in a fix. So we have had this come up a million times, I would say, in our Bhakti Sangha Kids group. So Nimai, now he is the leader of all the children, right? So he would ask very intelligent questions, and if no one could answer the questions, what would he do? Apani karena tabe sutrena sthapana sesha apanara vakya karena kandana. He would himself establish the explanation, and next minute he would refute it. So he would ask a question. There are some kids in our group who do that. They would ask a question, and then if the teacher doesn't know, they would answer it, right? We've seen this happen many times. But now look at what Nimai would do. Nimai would ask the question, and if no one could answer it, he would answer it, and then he would refute his own answer. So this is the Lord of all contradictions. And we should all understand that the controller of Maya is Lord Vishnu, and he has the ability to do, undo, and redo everything. So this reminded me of this very beautiful pastime of Sri Krishna creating sunset for the sake of his devotee. Now, who is the Lord of all the planets? It is the Supreme Lord Krishna, right? So he controls the movement of all the planets. So it is said in the Vedas that the sun rises and sets in fear of Krishna, in fear of Krishna. This is what the Vedas say. He is the controller of time. He is the controller of the motion of all the planets. He is in control of everything, right? So he is the Supreme Lord. He is the controller of even Maya, that which puts us into illusion. Even that is under Krishna's control. So this is the greatness of Krishna. But what happened during the Kurukshetra war? So during the Kurukshetra war, you all know the story of Arjuna and Jayadratha, right? So Jayadratha was, he killed Abhimanyu, who is the son of Arjuna. And Arjun had taken a vow that the next day he would kill Jayadratha somehow or the other. But he had to do it before sunset, right? The fight was going on. It was a very, very intense fight, and Arjun was not able to actually keep up his vow. It was almost, it was getting very, very difficult. And he had also taken a vow. Arjun had told that if I do not kill Jayadratha by sunrise, I would enter fire. Now Krishna, being the well-wisher of everyone and being the very close friend of Arjun, he did not want to see Arjun lose. So oftentimes Arjun would take some vows, Yudhishthir would take some vows, and they would not be able to keep up. But then Krishna would come in the last minute and help them keep up their vows. He would break his own vow. Krishna will break his own promise, but he will keep up the promise of his devotee. That is the beauty of the Supreme Lord. So what did he do? Momentarily, he covered the sun. Okay, by what? I would like to know, by what did he cover the sun?
Sudarshan Chakra.
Okay, so Devi says Sudarshan Chakra. Any other answers? Okay, so Devi, let's take the role of little Nimai. So now you give me the solution to this. You said Sudarshan Chakra, with Krishna Sudarshan Chakra, he covered the sun. How can something that is so bright like the Sudarshan Chakra actually cover another bright object like the sun? How is it possible?
Uh, uh, like, mm, uh, Sudarshan Chakra can bring Krishna can make his Sudarshan Chakra dark when he wants and light when he wants.
So he can make a Sudarshan Chakra dark like an opaque object when he wants, and then make it light when he wants. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, the answer is he did not use a Sudarshan Chakra. That is what they show in TV shows. He used his Yoga Maya Shakti. With his Yoga Maya, because he is the controller of Maya, that's how he covered the sun. This is what Mahabharata and Bhagavatam says. Okay, so generally, we have heard this many times that Krishna covered the sun with Sudarshan Chakra, but that's not how he did it. He did it with his Maya Shakti, because he has the ability by his Maya Shakti to do, undo, and redo anything. Okay, okay, so Devi, is that okay? That's how he covered the.
Yes, Mataji, I don't know.
Wonderful. So, Krishna, he can do many things. So, like this, if you think about the pastimes of Krishna, you would realize that in many places, not only this pastime, this is a pastime that just came to my mind, but there are tons of pastimes. Is there anything you can think of? Maybe where he used his Maya Shakti and he covered and he uncovered things? You can think of childhood pastimes of Krishna where he tricked everyone by his Yoga Maya Shakti.
I think Damodar pastime.
Yes, even I thought of Damodar pastime. Very nice. Very, very nice. Someone else.
He tricked Yashoda Maya.
Yeah, he tricked Yashoda Mai. Very nice. Very, very nice. Someone else said something, right? Okay. So yeah, so like that there are many.
Mataji, during Krishna's Janmashtami also, right? During his birth, he by Yogamaya, everybody put to sleep, right?
Yes, yes, he put everyone to sleep. So he can do, he can undo, he can redo, he can replay, he can do anything by his Maya Shakti. So like that there are so many examples. Yeah, these two examples are beautiful. Okay. Khehayadi kona mate na paristapite tabe se vakya prabhu karene surite. If someone was unable to establish a point, the Lord would give proper explanation. So that is how he would re-establish the truth or the actual meaning of a sutra very nicely. Ki basnani ki bojana ki baparyan प्रयत्नेन नाही का प्रभुरा आरा चेष्टा शास्त्र vine. So Shastra Vine, he was not without the scriptures even for a second. So that is how Kiba Snane, when he was taking bath, Ki Bhojane, when he was taking his food, and whatever engagement he was doing, whatever prayatante, whatever engagement he was in, he was constantly studying the scriptures. So very, very studious child. So wherever he went, he would carry the books and he would go. Sometimes devotees do that, right? When they get addicted to Srila Prabhupada's books, wherever they are going, they are either carrying Veda base with them or they are carrying Srila Prabhupada's books with them. Because it's a constant engagement. You just cannot do without it. So like that, Nimai, he would carry his textbooks everywhere he went, or he would constantly keep repeating Shastra Vakya so that he would memorize it. Like many kids I've seen, they keep repeating the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita constantly so that they can go on memorizing it when they are eating, when they are bathing, early in the morning, before breakfast, after breakfast, so that they can master the scriptures. And this is the nature of Shastra as well. It is very addictive. We talk about different addictions, but Shastra itself is a beautiful addiction. So like this, Nimai was constantly engaged with scriptures. He did not waste even a moment. Ei mata achena thakura vidyarase prakashana kare jagatera dina doshe. When the Lord enjoyed his pastimes as a student, he did not disclose himself due to the fallen condition of the world. So at this point in time, Nimai did not reveal to the world that he is the Supreme Lord. When Krishna was present, Krishna made it very obvious. He would do all sorts of things that were just far too obvious that he's something very special. The Brajavasis, they never considered him to be the Supreme Lord. But for a third person, it was very obvious that here comes the Supreme Lord. He made it too obvious. Lord Ramachandra, he did not, right? He always kept it covered. He tried to play the role of an ordinary human being. That was his mood. Similarly, Nimai, especially during his childhood pastimes, though he did some uncommon activities, still, when he was doing the pastimes of a student, being a student, he did not disclose him directly, that he was the Supreme Lord, because he understood the fallen condition of the world, that the world was not ready to accept things yet. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he waited for the right moment. He waited for the blessing from Ishvara Puri before he could inaugurate the Sankirtan movement. So being the Lord's incarnation, being the Supreme Lord, he knew exactly when to reveal what. And moreover, our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Chanavatar. He was the covered incarnation. So he did not want to openly advertise that he is the Supreme Lord. So let's see what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says about the condition of this world, especially in the age of Kali Yuga. The phrase Dina Doshe refers to the persons of this world who possess material knowledge and are averse to Lord Vishnu, who is beyond the material sense perception. Hence, they cannot accept the superiority of spiritual knowledge by which one's inclination towards Vishnu is awakened. They are all called as Dina or poor. Tridandi Goswami Sriman Prabodhananda Saraswati has written in his Chaitanya Chandramrita as follows. Lord Chaitanya Chandra had expanded a golden ocean of devotional mellows. The most unfortunate person who is untouched by this ocean is certainly cheated for ages together. So we can imagine how fortunate each one of us are to be in this movement that was inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most munificent incarnation ever known of the Supreme Lord, came down to give this free gift of love of God. Love of God is considered the Panchama Purushartha. It is not easily given. Even moksha can be easily given, but not love of God. And look at this, we are in such a beautiful situation, that too in the age of Kali, which is predominated by ignorance and fault finding and whatnot, right? There are so many vices in the age of Kali. You can keep listing, there is no end to the unlimited vices in the age of Kali Yuga, and none of us are perfect, right? Everyone here. But still we have an opportunity. What is the opportunity that is given to us? We are given this opportunity to at least float on the waves that is given by devotional mellows, float on the ocean of devotional mellows that is given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Maybe we are not really swimming and we are not able to dive deep into this ocean, but at least we, as fragmental, little living entities, we have received a little bit mercy where we can float in these devotional mellows that is freely given. But a person who doesn't have this opportunity, he's considered very, very poor. It's very sad, right? If a person born in this first phase of Kali Yuga has not come in contact with this beautiful ocean of love of God. But what can we do? We can definitely share these mellows with everyone, and that is the duty of every single Vaishnava. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says that anyone and everyone who's born in India has this duty to spread this movement. Not only a person who's born in India, actually any person who has come in contact with this wonderful gift of humanity, it is incumbent on them to actually share it with at least one or two people, so that even they can also get a taste of these beautiful devotional mellows. Here Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is telling us that when the Lord enjoyed his pastimes as a student, he did not disclose him due to the fallen condition of the world. That is the nature of the world. So he did not obviously disclose it, but he gave that love of God, right? He gave that love of God. Now, if a person has not had any sort of access to this love of God, it is incumbent upon us to actually share that love of God so that everyone can be benefited. This is the role of a devotee. It is said that a devotee is much more compassionate than the Supreme Lord himself. So here Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks about it. He says that many people are Dina. Many people in this world, they possess only material knowledge. They do not understand who is Vishnu. They are very unfortunate. They are not touched by this ocean. They are cheated for ages together. But still, the descendants of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada and all his followers, it is incumbent upon us to share a little bit of what we have. And that is the purpose of having Bhakti Vrikshas, having different programs, having even this Bhakti Sangha Japa conference. That is the whole purpose of this entire congregation. Hari Bhakti Shunya Hoila Sakala Samsara Asat Sangha Asat Partha Bai Nai Ara. At that time, the entire world was devoid of devotional service to the Lord, and people were engaged simply in materialistic association and activities. Any inferior mundane association and processes that have absolutely no relationship with the Supreme Lord, who's Vishnu, who's the controller of Maya, is only considered materialistic activity. So when we say materialistic activity, sometimes it is misunderstood that only earning money is materialistic activity. But here it is clarified that materialistic means not a person who's just after wealth. Any person who is doing activities devoid of the presence of Lord Vishnu is considered materialistic. right? If you're simply engaged in mundane activities, it is considered materialistic. So anything that is devoid of devotional service. This was the condition of the world even when Nimai was present. What else was happening in the world? Nana rupe putra dira mahotsava kare deha geha vyatikrita arana hispure. People held various grand festivals for their sons and daughters, and they had no care for anything other than their body and home. The truth, this is what it is. Like even many of us, right? Our only focus is all about our family, all about what we have to do, about our body and home. It is not so much about the Supreme Lord. This is what foolish materialistic people generally do. And even at the time of Nimai, foolish materialists at that time, they were maddened with fruitive activities. And what were they doing? They were engaged in satisfying just their family, their wives and children. Here Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he talks about a particular author by the name Bhima Bhatta. So Bhima Bhatta, I was trying to find out who this Bhima Bhatta is. He seems to be one of the commentators on the Purva Mimamsa, or the certain parts of grammar. Actually, that's how it is described. Certain aspects of Sanskrit grammar, which actually encourages just mundane knowledge and sense gratification and all that. It doesn't have much to do with Krishna consciousness. So a person who's constantly reading only such things, he's bereft of actually attaining the highest goal of life, and he's simply engaged in satisfying his senses. So this is what a major part of the Purva Mimamsa talks about. It doesn't have much of Krishna in picture. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says the Smriti Shastras are not meant to educate or uplift the consciousness of such people. These ignorant fools, service to Lord Hari is the highest duty of people in all times. Due to forgetting the supreme truth, these people develop desires for material enjoyment based on mundane welfare activities. This was the condition of the people even at the time when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present. Mitiya sukha deke sarve lokera adara Vaishnavera gona dukkha bhavena antara. The Vaishnavas were all distressed at heart, seeing the people's attachment to illusory happiness. We have discussed this earlier also. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he does talk about the people in Navadvip, saying that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present, when he had taken birth, many people in Navadvip, they were all bereft of the ultimate goal of life, and their focus was all about doing mundane activities. At that time, Advaita Acharya, he cried out looking at the condition of the people at that time, and Nimai actually advented. So even after the advent of Nimai, it was very evident that still majority of the people were like that, and all the Vaishnavas, they were very distressed in heart to see this kind of happiness, to this kind of attachment to illusory happiness. Why is it illusory? Because it is flickering. Happiness in the material world is never steady, so it keeps flickering, so it's called as illusory happiness. We are thinking we are happy, but actually we are not happy. Krishna bali sarve gane kare na kardana krandhana esa baji vere kripa kara narayana. So all the devotees who understood the very pitiable condition of the people around them, they cried, "Oh Krishna, oh Lord, please be merciful on these fallen souls." This is the nature of a Vaishnava, who is always looking for the welfare of everyone. Hena deha paya Krishne nahi haila rati kata kala giya are bunji be durgati. These people have not developed attachment for Krishna after attaining this human form of life. How long will they suffer such degradation? It's very evident. Once you attain the human form of life, what is your first business? Atato Brahma Jignasa. That is the first business of a person who has got this human birth after so much endeavor, right? There are 8,400,000 species, and to get a human birth is very, very rare. And even after taking this human birth, if we are simply wasting it on just mundane activities without attachment for Krishna, then it is a great loss. So these devotees, they were lamenting, oh, these people have not developed attachment for Krishna even after attaining a human form of life. How long will they suffer such degradation? Because if you misuse human life, what happens? Again, you have to get back in the cycle of birth and death. Again, you might have to fall into the lower species of life. So there is a lot of degradation if human form of life is not properly utilized. So the devotees were lamenting like this. ये नर शरीर लगी दिवे काम्य करे ताहा व्यर्थ या मिथ्या सुखेर विहारे. Their human form of life, which is desired by the demigods, is being wasted in the pursuit of false happiness. So this human form of life is so precious that who's desiring after it? Even the demigods. They are all praying, may we get birth in the land of Bharatavarsha. We are all doing the Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto now, and you have read the prayers of the residents of different Varshas. In the demigods, they are also praying that they may be able to get birth in this holy land of Bharatavarsha, so that they can execute what? They can execute devotional service and perfect their lives. So why is devotional service not present in other places? Maybe it is present, but Bharatavarsha is very conducive. This tract of land, this Varsha, actually that entire Bharatavarsha, it is very, very conducive to perform devotional service. Human form of life, in taking birth as a human being, living on earth, it is much easier to develop devotional service. If you have too much comforts, if you're on the heavenly realms and you have everything satisfied, happiness, bodily happiness, comforts, everything is there, then why would you even endeavor for Krishna consciousness? You just get easily diverted. It's not that it's not there at all, it could be there, but the possibility of being diverted is higher in higher planetary systems. But on earth, the facilities are not such that you might be very pleased with yourself constantly, right? So there is a hope and there is scope for performing devotional service. So even the demigods, they are praying, I wish I can take birth in Bharatavarsha and perfect my life, because they understand that just living in the upper planetary system is not the end of everything. They have to advance and they have to attain liberation. And the easiest way to attain liberation is to come to earth, where the practice is easy and one can attain love of God. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he quotes different verses and commentaries from Srimad Bhagavatam. Especially he quotes verses 5, 19, 21 to 25, where all these demigods are talking about the greatness of human birth on earth. They say, after performing the very difficult tasks of executing Vedic ritual sacrifices, undergoing austerities, observing vows and giving charity, we have achieved this position as inhabitants of the heavenly planets. But what is the value of this achievement? Here we are certainly very engaged in material sense gratification, and therefore we can hardly remember the lotus feet of Lord Narayana. Indeed, because of our excessive sense gratification, we have almost forgotten his lotus feet. A short life in the land of Bharatavarsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years, because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. So is life eternal there? No, he has to again constantly go in the cycle of birth and death. Although life in Bharatavarsha in a lower planetary system is very short, Shatayurvai Purushaha, that means a person lives for about 100 years, that's all. But one who lives here can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection. Especially in the age of Kali, it is very easy because the process is easy, right? Actually, we talk about Kali Yuga, so many defects in the age of Kali. Manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagya hi upadrita. So many defects, filled with defects. Everyone is after quarrel. Everyone is short-lived. Everyone is dull-witted. Nothing is great about Kali Yuga, but there is one. Eko hi mahan gunan. Bhagavatam says there is one great quality. just by doing Sankirtan in a short life, in a short period of time, one can easily surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord and attain perfection. So that is the greatness of Bharatavarsha. Although life in Bharatavarsha in a lower planetary system is very short, one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection, even in the short life, by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna. Thus one attains Vaikuntha Loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a material body. So the demigods continue to explain, an intelligent person does not take interest in a place even in the topmost planetary system if the pure Ganges topics concerning the Supreme Lord's activities does not float there. If there are not devotees engaged in the service on the banks of such a river of piety, or if there are no festivals, Sankirtana Yajna to satisfy the Lord, especially the Sankirtan Yajna is recommended for this age. So the demigods are telling what is the use of taking birth in higher planetary systems if the devotees are not there to do Harikatha, if you're not able to hear the glories of the Lord and do Sankirtan Yajna, what is the use of living in that place? Ultimately, if one has the opportunity, he must use his tongue and ears in the service of Krishna and perfect his life. And such sort of circumstances is abundantly available in this land of Bharatavarsha. So, if one attains a human body in the land of Bharatavarsha with clear sensory organs with which he is able to execute Sankirtan Yajna, that is the perfection of life, right? So it is very nicely described that if one, in spite of attaining a human form of life, does not take to devotional service, he is certainly like a liberated forest animal or a bird that is careless and is again bound by a hunter. So it's a very nice analogy. I wanted to touch upon this. If you look at animals in the forest or birds in the forest, it appears that they have a lot of freedom, okay? So they are all liberated, they have a lot of freedom and they can move about wherever they want. But then this world is not a very nice place to be in. Padam padam yat vipadam natesham. Every step there is danger. In spite of this independence, right, what happens? A hunter comes and he throws the net and these birds and animals, they get caught in spite of all the independence they have. That is the nature of this world. We are all bound by this invisible net of Maya. Okay, we all think we are very independent, we are in control of everything, but it is not true. We are not so independent. We are minuscule parts and parcels of the Lord. We do not have complete, we have qualities like the Lord, but we do not have complete independence like the Lord, because ultimately not everything goes according to our wish and will. We are all I would say victims of Maya. So this analogy given here is very, very relevant. A forest animal or a bird may appear very liberated. We are here in this world, we have so much money, we have very strong senses, we can enjoy, yay, we are independent, we are liberated. Not so true, because any time that hunter can come and throw the net and we are all caught. Any time, time can change anything. So that is the reality of this world. And that is understood by the heavenly residents, and they pray for a life in Bharatavarsha so that they can learn to be dependent on the Supreme Independent, okay, and then utilize their life perfectly. Krishna Yatra Mahotsava Parva nahi kare Vivada hi karme se Ananda kari mare. So let's look at some words here. Specific words are used. Yatra is used, Mahotsava is used, Utsava is used, Parva is used, and Mare is used. So each one of these have specific meanings. So generally we just say festival, right? But then there are so many varieties of festivals and functions. So that is how this verse, it denotes different varieties of festivals and functions. So let's see what Sridhara Swami talks in his commentaries. So in the word Yatra, the first word used is Krishna Yatra, then it says Maha Utsava, then it says Parva, and finally it talks about people who cannot utilize this are called as Mare. Okay, translation first. They don't celebrate Krishna's appearance day, but they spend their entire life celebrating weddings and other family functions. This is the nature of this world. Now, what are they not celebrating? They are not celebrating Krishna Yatra. That is the first word used. Yatra means what? Yatra, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, it refers to a special function that is performed by a large group of people. So if a large group of people come together, congregate and observe observe a nice function, it is called as a yatra. Sometimes we say that different congregations are also called as yatra. Atlanta yatra, Houston yatra, that's how it is called, right? So what is that? It means it's a large congregation who is coming together and observing a function, that is called as a yatra. The next one is Utsava. Utsava refers to specific festivals. Like for example, you have Vasantotsava. Okay, Vasanta, that is in the month of spring. There are some specific festivals that are observed for Radha Krishna. So that is called as festival, or it is called as an Utsava. And then there is also something called as Mahotsava or a Parva. Parva. Parva is a festival that is very, very, very big. Okay, so such a festival is like Janmashtami or Chaturmasya or Ekadashi is called as a Parva. And Mahotsava in the Srimad Bhagavatam specifically refers to not just a big festival, but also a festival where a congregation of devotees come together, they observe a festival and they also chant and dance. So when they chant the holy names and they dance and they also observe the intricacies of a festival, then it is called as Mahautsava. So what is this verse telling? This verse says, Krishna Yatra Mahotsava Parva Nahi Kare Vivahadi Karme Se Ananda Kari Mare. So if they do not celebrate not all these varieties, okay, not only Krishna's appearance day, which is a Parva, but if they do not celebrate any of these and they spend their entire life celebrating just weddings and other family festivals, then they are as good as Mare. They are as good as dead, actually. So, regarding the word Mare, foolish people who consider their bodies as themselves and forget the worshipable Lord, they are considered Mare. Because of their ignorance of their relationship with the Lord, they do not endeavor even a bit to please the Supreme Lord, right? They do not endeavor even a little to please Lord Hari. And all their activities are around just pleasing their different senses and mind. And they give up the service of the Supreme Lord, who is Adhokshaja. What is the meaning of Adhokshaja? Anybody? What?
One who is beyond all the A and Sha, the alphabets, A and Sha.
Yes.
He is beyond, because he cannot be described by any vocabulary. He cannot be limited by any vocabulary. He is so unlimited.
Very nice. Yes. Yes, that is right. So that is Adhokshaja. And also, simply put, one who is beyond all senses is Adhokshaja. That is correct. And Ksha, as Gaur Govind Maharaj writes, and that is also the definition meaning as per the definition. And the other meaning in simple terms is one who's beyond all the senses is Adhokshaja. So the people who do not endeavor for any relationship with Krishna, what are they doing? They are only endeavoring for activities that is pleasing to their mind and senses, but they forget that there is someone who's beyond the senses, and that is Adhokshaja. When Krishna killed Putana, he was a small boy, right? He was a tiny little baby, and he celebrated as Adhokshaja because you cannot just understand Krishna by your blunt senses. I mean, he's so beyond senses that a little boy who's less than 10 days old, especially in that pastime, he's referred as Adhokshaja. He just sucked the milk of Putana and he killed her. And this boy not only just killed her, but he also gave her liberation, right? The liberation of being a nurse in the spiritual world, a mother-like figure in the spiritual world. So that is Adhokshita. So if a person doesn't understand what it is to be the servant of Adhokshita, which is the ultimate benefit, then they do not actually end up in Vaikuntha, but they only traverse in the path of this material world, material existence. They take birth after birth and they suffer through different species and they undergo unlimited miseries. And this is something that is evident throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here in the commentary, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has quoted from various places as to this, how Shukadev Goswami describes this condition of the people here to Parikshit Maharaj. And then later Lord Kapila, he speaks these different words to Devahuti. He talks about the misguided materialist who doesn't understand that this body is impermanent and he just has attraction to home, land and wealth. So like this, there are so many references throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam that talks about a materialistic person. So a materialistic person, all his attempts are ruined. He's constantly only worried about his body and the people around him, and he fails to understand that death is actually there at his doorstep and waiting for him any time. So he must utilize his life in the service of Krishna. He must always remain Krishna consciousness and die even at the time of death. He must be in the right consciousness. Unless you have lived a life of right consciousness, you cannot have the right consciousness at the time of death. So the people there, the devotees, they were all lamenting. Oh, most of the people here, they are not caring for anything. They are just enjoying life. They're just worried about celebrating weddings and birthday parties and looking good and having nice relationships and enjoying their senses. But in their life, they have no focus. They're not giving Krishna a place. So that's how the people were lamenting. तुम्हारा से जीवा प्रभो तुम्ही से रक्षिता की बलिबा amara तुम्ही से सर्व पीता. O Lord, the living entities are your parts and parcels, and you are their protector and supreme father. So now the devotees there, they are praying to Krishna and they're telling Krishna, you are our father. Each and every living entity here is a part and parcel of you. Which verse of Bhagavad Gita is that? So Devi, part and parcel. Yeah, Mamai Vamsho, Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta, Sanatana. We are all eternally parts and parcels of Krishna. Bhagavad Gita, verse 15.7. We are all similar to Krishna, but we possess minute consciousness. Krishna is our ultimate protector, but we are just misusing our independence. So the people there, they were crying out, oh Krishna, we are all your parts. Please take care of us. You are our protector. You are our supreme father. We are eternally your fragmental parts. So do take care of us. Make everyone a devotee. So this was their prayer. Ematha bhakta gana sabara kushala chintena gayena Krishna chandre mangala. Chandrera Mangala. In this way, the devotees always desire the welfare of the living entities and they pray to Krishna on their behalf. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Chanda Jana Vrindavana Dasa Tachu Pade Yuge Gana. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I Vrindavan Das sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends the English translation of the Gaudiya Bhashya of Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, chapter 8, titled The Disappearance of Jagannath Mishra. So what did we see today? We saw how Nimai was looking very resplendent. He was a nice Brahmin child. He was going to school. He was studying very nicely. Though he did not openly exhibit his ultimate identity or his godly nature or his divine nature, still he played the role of a small child and he went to school and he was very, very brilliant. He could defeat arguments And from time to time, a little bit of a superiority was also seen. He showed that he is the Lord of Maya, and he could understand that the people in that time and age were actually bereft of proper consciousness. Everyone was engaged in mundane activities, and the people, the devotees there, were also praying that we hope, Krishna, you show some mercy so that the people can awaken their dormant Krishna consciousness. So those are the verses from 185 to 207, and Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur finishes this chapter by the standard verse that is used, similar to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami when he writes Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He always ends with a particular verse, praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath. I, Krishnadas, chant Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. Similarly, here we see Vrindavan Das Thakur say, accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. So we will move on tomorrow to a very, very interesting pastime and chapter that everyone is looking forward to. Lord Nityananda's childhood pastimes and travel to holy places. So very, very interesting chapter. We will start tomorrow with Adi Gadadhar Prabhu's class. So I'll end here. Any questions, comments, realizations? Please.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very, very beautiful as usual and very sweet. Two things I was thinking, the multitasking, like how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing. He was, going everywhere with his shastras, and that's where the multitasking coming. And yeah, that is wonderful. Another thing I was just thinking, I was laughing to myself when you said, the Lord didn't go to do time pass to the Gurukul. He just went to study. And I was thinking of my son. He does just the opposite. He just goes to school to have fun for 8 hours. And it's just the opposite of that. And that makes sense. Servants should not be like the Lord. So that was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, please go ahead and ask question, any comments, any realization. Please unmute yourself and go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Anuradha Mataji. I was just thinking, even I was the same. I just went to school because there was a games period. I didn't have any other reason to go to school. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Pinky Preethi, Dandavat Pranams. Very beautiful class, and I really like the details you gave about the different kind of festivals. That was very nice to hear. I was hearing it for the first time. You always have something new to share, so very grateful to you for that.
Mataji, that was directly from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's purport as given by Srila Sridhar Swami. Mataji, I just read it actually.
Yeah, you discovered that for us. Thank you so much, Preethi.
Thank you, Suksagri Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preethi Vilasini Gopi, Koti Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Mataji, we are not qualified to enter in any Leela Mataji, but we are कुछ तो हमारा अगले जन्म का कर्म है माताजी. We get such a strong association of Bhakti Sangha. When we are working, that time also we cannot speak, but we can hear. जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि से निकलने के लिए श्रील प्रभुपाद is given a strong सेनापति. Abroad में भी वो सेनापति भेज दिए ताकि हम गोपीनाथ को मिस नहीं करें. पर सी माताजी so fallen we are. 2, 4, 5, 6 दिन तक याद रहता है. Then again some festival come, battery charge 15 days. Again we have to waiting for a preachers and again every day we are hearing morning and afternoon माताजी reading Srila Prabhupada Amrita. पर फिर भी माताजी भूल जाते हैं. इतने पति थे. ये हमें जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि में वापस नहीं आना है. We have to do our japa more and more attentively. And in this Kali Yuga Mataji, everybody, whether it's dwellers or whether it's a cloth merchant or and everybody is cheating Mataji. They just sell for selling only. They are doing business, and then we understand that. Only Srimati Shri Radharani in Lotus Feet of Lord Krishna and Srimati Shri Radharani Salter से ही जो खुशी जो प्लेजर मिलती है श्रील प्रभुपाद और एसोसिएशन ऑफ वैष्णव माता जी वो कहीं भी नहीं है. तो समटाइम्स श्रील प्रभुपाद will put in that situation. You want gold? See see the people how they cheat. You want this? See how they cheat. So, so Mataji, sometimes Srila Prabhupada will keep us in the Maya, and then we understand, no, this place is not for us. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम माता जी। श्रील प्रभुपाद श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, गोपीनाथ की जय। बहुत ही अच्छी तरह माता जी, याद तो नहीं रहता है। कुकिंग फॉर श्री जगन्नाथ एंड वी आर हियरिंग श्री चैतन्य भागवत माता जी। अरे रीड करने बैठते हैं ना माता जी, तो भी क्वालिफिकेशन नहीं है, तो वो नींद आ जाती है। दैट मच फॉलन माता जी, हार्डली 15-20। हाँ, श्रील प्रभुपाद अमृता अच्छी तरह बैठ के पढ़ सकते हैं, बट इफ वी स्टार्ट श्री भागवतम और श्री चैतन्य चरणामृता माता जी, 15-20 मिनट में तो नींद आ जाती है। पर माता जी वो भी समझ नहीं आता है। पर व्हेन वी हियर फ्रॉम प्योर वैष्णवा माता जी, एटलीस्ट वो अंदर जाता है, प्रसादम में जाता है। द किड्स, द हस्बैंड, द गेस्ट कमिंग इन अवर गोपीनाथ होम, दे ऑल गेट द एसोसिएशन ऑफ भक्ति संघ टीचर्स। कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम एज प्रीति विलासिनी माता जी। एंड शाम को जो आप क्लास लेते हैं, आई जस्ट रिक्वेस्ट टू ऑल वैष्णवा कि वो पूरे दिन का निचोड़ देते। भक्ति संघ के सब टीचर्स वो पूरी कैलोरी, रात को भी 10 बजे तक क्लास रहता है। सुकेश्वरी माता जी, एच प्रीति विलासिनी माता जी टीचर्स श्लोका एंड ट्रांसलेशन लाइक इन अ गोपीनाथ माता जी इन अ महाराज मीटिंग। 36 Vaishnava, one will start that sloka and the last one that sloka will by heart. पहले से 36 जन वैष्णव बोलते हैं तो वो श्लोका बाय हार्ट हो जाता है। तो थैंक यू माता जी, थैंक यू फॉर ऑल योर ब्लेसिंग एंड ऑल योर एसोसिएशन ऑफ भक्ति संघ टीचर्स। कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम। प्लीज 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 अटेंड इवनिंग क्लास ऑल्सो। हरे कृष्णा, हरे बोल, दंडवत राधे।
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Randa Govika Mataji. Your enthusiasm always encourages all of us. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I love the class. I like the points that I liked all the points, and I like the points that where like the animals having a lot of independence, but it's not true. Anytime hunter of death can come and attack us, and human life is very precious. So Mataji, it's said while bathing, eating, or traveling, the Lord had no engagement other than studying the scriptures. So how do we apply this in our life? And can you elaborate on this little, Mataji?
My God, you're such a blessed child. You have such good thinking, Sudevi. Very, very nice. Thank you for such a sweet question. So, Sudevi, let me ask you this. What is your favorite activity you like to? What keeps you very happy when you eat something, or when you eat ice cream? Are you happy? What is your favorite thing to eat?
Ice cream, Mataji.
You like ice cream? Okay. So if supposing your mom has promised you that she's going to get you ice cream today, and she tells you, okay, I'm going to get you ice cream at 7 o'clock in the evening, would you be thinking about the ice cream the entire day and waiting for that 7 o'clock? Isn't it natural? Would you feel like that?
Yes, Mataji.
Because you love it so much, right? You just love ice cream so much. So you're like thinking all day, I want to eat ice cream. Is it 7 o'clock, Amma? Is it 7 o'clock? I want to go and eat ice cream. Right? If you start developing taste for something, if you like something very much, it is only natural that you want to do it all the time, right? So your mind is constantly hovering around ice cream non-stop because you love it so much. So similarly, what we need to do is we have to see what is it in Krishna consciousness that we are most attracted to. Maybe you like reading Krishna stories. Maybe you like drawing Krishna or doing some craft for Krishna. So there are so many things. Maybe you like to bake for Krishna. So every activity in our life can be dovetailed for the service of the Lord, and each one of us have different inclinations. Each one has like a person may love kirtan, another person may love reading books, another person may just love cooking. So everybody has their inclination. So figure out what is your inclination and continue to develop taste for it. Then you would keep doing it all the time. So this only comes with experience, and I think you already have that. I see that a lot in you. I see you chanting all the time whenever I log in. So whenever and every time you're either in class or you're chanting, so you've already developed taste for it. So it's natural. It is natural when you're doing other activities also. Either the thoughts about the class or the holy names in your tongue is going to automatically come. So this is the process. When we develop deep love for something, it is there with us throughout the day. So that is what Nimai was doing. He had so much love for reading scripture that whatever other activity he was doing, he was either constantly remembering scripture or he would go back to his book. Okay, did that answer, Sudevi?
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sudevi.
Hare Krishna, Brinda Gopika Mataji. Thank you so much, and Sudevi, for the beautiful question. Wonderful, wonderful, blessed child. And thank you so much. And Mataji, I was also thinking about festival. Srila Prabhupada has blessed us with everything, including festival. Like we recently had Sadhu Sangha. I mean, I never enjoyed my life as much I had enjoyed in Sadhu Sangha. No marriage, no birthday party, nothing. So, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, he has squeezed out every bit of happiness from this world and given it us in the form of ISKCON.
Wow.
And that was it. Was whether it was association, everybody. When my mom was asking what Sadhu Sangha, I said, imagine that all your relatives gonna come in the best marriage ever possible and gonna get the best of food. I was just telling her I have never been to Sadhu Sangha. This was my first, but how do I explain to her? I thought I will meet Kirtida Sundari Mataji also, but it didn't happen this time. We met Anjana Gopika Mataji and other devotees. But Prabhupada has given us that opportunity when we have a marriage coming up in our family. I have no energy to go. I'm not going also, because we exert ourselves so much in Krishna conscious activities, whether it is festival or the service, that the taste for other things will automatically go. I mean, I don't even have the energy. Once you have done so much, we have only limited time, resource, and energy. So once we have given everything, for Krishna's activities, then there is no space for other things. And that's what I was just wondering about festival. I mean, it was more than many, many marriages put together, and anything else we can think, at least I can think about, of happiness. You can dress as you like. Prabhupada didn't make our movement a dry movement like neti, 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 right? We can eat, so long we are within the 4 regulative principle, we can eat what we want. We can, do so many things. And he has made it I mean, Krishna said it, susukam kartum avyayam, but Prabhupada made it possible, susukam kartum avyayam. It's Prabhupada who made this process of bhakti so joyful, and, living it every moment. And, it's so beautiful. One festival gets over, it's another one. By the time we breathe, it's another one, and especially next to temple. So it's, it's even more. So I just wanted to add that, Mataji, when Mataji Brinda Gopika Mataji was saying, everything is there, but then what Prabhupada has given us is out of this world.
Fantastic. So nicely put. So nicely put. Practical experience of how Krishna consciousness can be so happy. Yes, definitely, definitely. It's very pleasing, Mataji, to the heart. Very, very nice. So nicely put. Thank you, Anuragha Mataji.
Yeah, devotees, anybody having any more comments, realization, or question? If not, then do we close, Mataji? Okay. You look so pretty in pink, Mataji, in everything, but especially pink. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your association. For every Vaishnava's association, we are very, very grateful for your presence. Please continue doing so, and keep inspiring me to come and join every day. Thank you so much. With your permission, we will end here. We'll pause here. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhuveva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Caitanya Bhagavata ki jai, Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai, Bhakti Siddhanta
Preethi
Saraswati
Vilasini ki jai.
jai. Thank you so much. Ananta Koti
Thank
Vaishnav
you.
Vrinda ki jai,
Jai.
Bhagavata Bhakta Vrinda. Thank you, Mataji.
Dandavat pranam to all.